If you play a worse commander, you'll win more games of EDH. Now, I know what you're saying. Jake with the daily upkeep, that's ridiculous. I mean, your commander deck is built around your commander. You'd expect that picking a better commander would mean you'd win more games. And I get where you're coming from. And that's true most of the time. But the fault isn't with your commander, it's with the people you're playing against and their biases. According to EDHREC's data, the top 100 commanders, or 3% of every commander you could possibly play, makes up for 35% of all commander decks. And for good reason, they're incredible cards. They're unique and they enable strategies the best. If you've played even a few games of Commander, you've probably played against the likes of Krenko Mobboss, the Ur-Dragon, Yuriko, or maybe Vivi, Edgar Markov, Y'shtola, Kali, Pentalaza, Lathril, the list goes on. And it's not just that players have seen or played against these cards once, it's that they've lost to them. They've seen Krenko take a normal board state and turn it into dozens of goblins. They've been on the receiving end of an Ur-Dragon chaining spells. Players remember these events. They remember the names of the cards, what happened to them, the crazy games they generated and won for their pilots. They've heard stories about their friends using or losing to these cards. They've seen the decks online. They've seen their image on EDHREC hundreds of times. And as time goes on, players develop biases against these cards, not because of their true power level, but because of their individual experiences playing against them. Krenko is a great card. It's the best card in the Goblin deck. But the disadvantage to running Krenko, the disadvantage I'm trying to help you avoid, is that players will disproportionately target these cards. Players internalize the experience and examples of these cards winning and perceive these meta, more popular commanders as threats at the table even when they're underperforming. This is part of what psychologists call a salience bias. Researchers have determined that people will overestimate the probability or risk of something based on how easily an example comes to mind. These commanders capture your opponent's attention and they get targeted with removal like lightning rods. It doesn't matter if the Krenko player had no 3-drop and basically skipped the turn leading into Krenko. Krenko is a threat. It's killed them before. It has to be removed. Now you might say, that doesn't happen to me. I don't fall victim to this. I know how to properly judge a board state and determine what the real threat is. And that might be true, but that's not always true for all 3 of your opponents. And peer pressure has a part to play in this. Maybe one of your opponents knows that the Krenko player isn't curving out perfectly and isn't really the primary threat to the table. But Krenko is the known strong card at the table. It's socially safe to attack or remove it. Everyone can agree that it's dangerous, and if you make a point to justify not removing it, there's a chance you'll be blamed. Okay, now you might say, well, Jake, my opponents are usually pretty good and we don't really have a problem with peer pressure. And that's fine, but consider this. Your opponents each also have 3 opponents of their own. And in Commander, especially with so many new versions of cards and Universes Beyond sets running around, there's a lot going on, even early on, say on turn 4. There's tons of permanents, triggers, interactions. People use shortcuts. They apply labels like scary and not scary and use those shortcuts to help them make decisions. So why should you care? Well, I think you'll win more Commander games by playing with a worse commander. Obviously, I don't mean making your entire deck worse, but playing a slightly suboptimal commander will give you the biggest benefit with the least amount of drawback. Your commander is the first thing people see when they play against you. It's where they get their first impression, and it's where those mental shortcuts and biases that I talked about earlier begin to form. Let's go back to the Krenko example. What do you think when you hear this? I swear my Krenko deck is different than other Krenko decks. No, it's not. It's gonna make a bunch of goblins, then it's gonna make even more goblins, and it's gonna play a Brightstone ritual and burn everyone out with impact tremors. Everyone who's played against Krenko knows that. So everyone who thinks that's what the Krenko deck is going to do has an incentive to make sure that the Krenko deck can't get its engines going. So if you're the Krenko player and everyone knows what your commander and game plan is and exactly how to stop it, what are you supposed to do? One option, the option I'm proposing, is to shift Krenko into the 99 of your deck and play something a little less obvious as your commander. Okay, maybe something a little better than that. Let's just say Pashalik Mons instead. I mean, do you even know what that card does with the Oracle text blocked out? It's not as powerful as Krenko. It has tens of thousands of fewer decks, but that's the point. You still get to play your Goblin deck the way you normally would, but now everyone's not gunning for you from the start. And Krenko's still in the 99 somewhere, so you still have access to it in some games. Your deck's a little bit weaker, but you actually win more often with fewer opponents trying to shut you down. I mean, what sounds better? A Krenko that dies before you untap half the time, or a Pashalik Mons that you almost always untap with? Maybe you go a step further and you sub out a Goblin commander completely for something like Slash, Reptile Rampager. I won't pretend that Slash is some powerhouse commander, but it can definitely deal a lot of damage in a Goblin deck. and it's a lot less likely to draw attention from the start. But wait, what about your main deck? The 99, the rest? You play good cards and staples in every one of your commander decks. What about downgrading those? Well, this won't always be the best trade. I'm not saying you should hit up your local game store and buy a copy of Lady Orca to bring to FNM. I'm also not telling you that you shouldn't play commander staples in your deck. There's a strong, and I think correct, argument that Swords to Plowshares should be in every white deck that can play it. It's a best-in-class removal spell, sure, but interaction pieces aren't really what I'm talking about here. Instead, our goal is to draw attention to power outliers. I'm talking about Smothering Tithe, Skull Clamp, Joda, stuff like that. Cards that send up red flags and give people war flashes, like the reaction standard players have when someone mentions Vivi. It's all about how much the cards you're playing make you look like you're the thread of the table, even when you're not. This goes back to the salience bias we mentioned at the start of the video. Imagine you have a great draw on your mono green deck and you drop the Great Henge on turn 4 or 5. What happens?
Hey guys, he just played the Great Henge, get him.
Yeah, that's the reaction a lot of people are. It's the Great Freaking Henge. It's an insanely powerful card. But what if you drop, let's say, Elven Chorus on turn 4 instead? What kind of reaction do you get then? People don't freak out about Elven Chorus the same way, even though in a lot of situations it's just as good, if not better than the Great Henge. And that's because the Chorus doesn't have the same pedigree or gravitas as Henge. People know Henge is awesome. It's a chase card that everyone wants in their collection, and it's always perceived as a threat. Elven Chorus, however, is much less popular, so people have less of an instinctive reaction to retaliate against someone who plays it. It's a great example of how you downgrade a tier 1 card to something just a little bit less powerful and still get the effect you want without all the attention from your opponents. The goal is to bring the power level of just a few cards in your deck down a notch, but not to depower things so much that you're just getting kicked around like a hacky sack. Now, if you're crushing it, it goes without saying, don't change. But if you're playing the absolute best cards you can for your strategy and you're still taking loss after loss, try swapping out some of those power outliers and maybe playing a few weaker cards instead. Let me know in the comments what you think about this and if you tried this in your personal play group and how it went. Thank you to everyone supporting us on Patreon, and thanks for watching.